Is this your first time here in South by and Austin in general?
No, I've been here before. My first film premiered here in 2009.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's a great festival. I love
Good
it.
to be back, huh?
Is it your first time?
My first time at the festival, yes.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's fun. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little, when I drove in from the airport yesterday, it was a little intimidating. Seeing all the people on the street, it was like, oh, this is really happening now. They've invited other people? Yeah, but it's fun. It's been really nice. Yeah.
So my first question for Matt, what inspired you to write and direct a film about undocumented teens?
I'm an immigrant myself. I had a much easier, politer version of just, having to go through the process of filling out the paper. So it was always something that was, interested me, and a couple of experiences that I had, when going for like interviews and stuff like that, of seeing, people going into their interviews and clearly, being nervous about it. And it's such an emotional experience, and the idea of home and what a home is. And then this play, Kate, my co-screenwriter, wrote this play, which is kind of like the bare bones of what the film became. And I directed that for the New York Fringe Festival. And through doing that, I met a bunch of undocumented kids, and the experience of doing the play really made me want to tell this story on film. So as soon as we finished it, I started writing the script, and then a couple of months later, we were shooting it.
What was your biggest challenge directing the film?
It's kind of it's daily challenge. It's like a million challenges a day. Staying in the moment is always something I have to remind myself of every time I wake up in the morning and go to set. It's just staying in the present of, this is what you're shooting today, and don't kind of look up and look around. Just keep your head down, and making sure that my aim for it was that it was like you were looking through the window at a real school, at real kids. I wanted everything to be, all of the kind of choices to be invisible, so that the audience could look at this and see kids that they knew, their daughter, their son, kids from the school down the road, like an American school with American kids, and for it to be recognisable, so that the situation that they're in hits home. Yeah.
On the flip side of that question, what was the most rewarding experience directing it?
Collaborating with the actors, and the crew, the people we got to work with. I mean, when working with Julianne was one of, the best experiences I've had, and I love that collaboration.
Me too with him.
I love that collaboration, and they bring so much, and that was amazing.
So Julianne, how did you get involved with From Nowhere?
Matt sent me the script. They offered me the role, and I read it, and I really responded to the material immediately. I loved the story. It felt like it was it was beautifully told and very moving without hitting you over the head with it. Just the fact that you don't have to dramatize this. It's already, there's so much there. Just the facts of these kids' lives. And I also watched a film that Matt directed before called Three Blind Mice, which was here. Mm-hmm. At this festival in 2009, I think you said. And it was wonderful. I loved his first movie, and so I was very hopeful that with that script he would make another great movie, and I think he has.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your character and her role in the story?
Sure. I play Jackie, who's the teacher in this high school in the Bronx, and she is from New York. Grew up on, a lot of this is not in the film, but it was something that Matt and I talked about. Grew up on Central Park, comes from a well-to-do family, but is now, teaching at this school, and is divorced and doing the best she can while still making mistakes.
Were there any scenes that you found challenging to act out at times?
Yeah, I think acting can be really hard. But it's surprising for me to hear Matthew say that one of his challenges is to try to stay in the moment, because I feel that's all he does and all he encourages people to do, which is wonderful. This was also one of my best experiences ever. I just loved working with him, and we just got each other, and I just felt pushed and encouraged and supported by him in a way that made me feel so good and fulfilled. But the scene where I think that he's asking me about his father in the classroom, and I realized that I basically just spilled the beans. That was hard, because you have to do it a couple of times, and trying to stay true to whatever is happening right that minute, and not have an idea about what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like. But it's still
That was a key
fun.
scene for me too. When you did that, when I saw that scene and when I saw what Julianne did, that moment made me realize. I guess that's what I mean by staying in the moment. Like, I realized then that the whole film was about those moments, and how far I could go and how far I could push the character of Jackie, and indeed all of the actors. I literally jumped up and down on the spot. It was a very, very exciting day.
I spoke with Jay Mallory just a bit earlier, and he mentioned the same thing about how you guys pushed them to stay in the moment with the scenes.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, he's a wonderful actor. It's great because, you write something and you kind of have the bare bones of what happens in the scene, and I just think, I think sometimes attention is put on the surface of what needs to happen. And people get worried about, the story of the scene, and that's going to happen. There's a script. We know unlike life. I literally know what's going to happen at the end of this moment. This is going to happen, and then there's going to be a cut. So I kind of like relaxing, sitting back from that a little bit, and then just letting all the detours happen as we get there. And when you're blessed with an incredible cast who, really embrace the working method and have fun kind of putting their own stamp on it, you get some great detours. And actually then the film becomes about the detours, and the things that really touch you are the things that you didn't expect to happen.
So this is your third feature film, and you've acted a ton before.
My second.
Your second?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm my bad.
That's right. Give me another one. That's fine.
How is that transition from acting to directing?
I've loved it. I guess having been on the other side, I know what I wanted as an actor, and what I occasionally got and then often didn't get. So I guess I kind of want to create the experience that I always would have wanted to have. And I think also maybe, and I don't know, you might be able to, but maybe having been on the other side, it kind of certainly gives me a freedom to feel like I can, there are things, if you've been an actor, that you can say to another actor, like you can go, get in the light, or you can talk the talk without being frightened of, I think some directors that I've worked with talk around an idea, and sometimes you can just say, tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Julianne, I know you've been in many films and TV series, and my question is, what do you like about both, and do you prefer one over the other?
I like both. I like, and I've done theater too, and to be able to jump around in all three feels like a huge privilege, because they all have their upsides and downsides.
This is for both of you guys. Do you have any upcoming projects coming up?
I'm doing a television show next called Eyewitness for USA. It's a 10-part series, 10-episode series.
What's the show about?
It was made in Norway originally, so they're remaking it here, but putting a New York spin on it. My character used to be a detective in New York, and now is a sheriff in a small town, and a serious crime happens in the opening scenes, and her foster son and his sort of guy he would like to be his boyfriend witness it. So now the rest of the series, but they don't tell anybody, so the rest of the series is sort of figuring out that part. I've only read one, so I don't know what happens.
Sounds cool, though.
Yeah, well, here's hoping. The first one's good.
I have 2 feature films development, 2 scripts, and a pilot script that is also being developed. The next feature I want to make is about a woman who has just gotten out of prison after 10 years, and she's putting her life back together.
I'm hoping to be in that one.
Yes, yeah, I wrote it. I actually wrote it for Julianne. So
That would be awesome.
yeah,
I know, it's really nice.
yeah, and then there's a couple of other things too.
Okay, all right. Last question. Besides being here from nowhere, what other South by films are y'all looking forward to?
Sideman. I want to see I want to see the documentary, the blues documentary. Sideman. I forget what the whole title is. I think it's called Sideman.
I'm not going to be here, I'm afraid. I was so happy I got to see our movie last night, which I loved, and then I'm going home tonight.
Well, you'll miss the crazy.
I know. It's kind of nice to plop down for one day of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
She's a dedicated mum.
Yeah, I have to go take care of my family.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.